Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon everyone. My name is Arya Malika Putra with student ID number 2024-32091, major information system at ITEC Balance. And in this section, I will walk through the implementation of the MLP or the multi-layer perceptron for predicting heart disease using the heart failure prediction dataset. This dataset contains 918 patient records with 11 clinical attributes and one target label indicating whether the patient has heart disease or not. Okay, here importing libraries and loading the dataset. We begin importing the libraries needed through the workflow such as Pandas, NumPy, and etc. as usual. And then we also suppress warning message using the warning filter ignore, so that convergence warnings from scikit-learn do not clutter out in our output. Next, we load the dataset using the pdread as usual. As shown in the output, the dataset consists of 918 rows and 12 columns. 11 of these columns are predictor features such as age, sex, chest pain types, and etc. until the heart disease record is in the target label valued 0 for no heart disease and 1 for the presence of the heart disease. Moving on to the encoding categorical columns. Since a neural network can only process numerical input as the machine learning methodical before, we need to convert 5 categorical columns like sex, chest pain type, and resting ECG, and the other one into the numeric form. And then in here we use as usual the scikit-learn label encoder, which assigns each unique text category an integer value starting from 0. For example, sex becomes 0 and for female and 1 for male. And then we look through each categorical column and apply the encoder directly, replacing the original text values in its place. It's worth noting a limitation here because label encoder assigns number based on alphabetical order, not medical severity. So for columns with more than 2 categories like chest pain types or ST slope, it enters an artificial ordinal relationship that doesn't reflect real clinical meaning. However, since the MLPs can learn non-linear relationships, this is generally an acceptable trade-off for this kind of practical. And then moving on here, splitting features and labels, and then checking class distribution. After encoding, we separate the dataset into feature matrix X and label vector Y, converting both NumPy arrays of type float64 using NP as array, since MLP classifier requires array input rather than a data frame. Before splitting it into training and testing sets, we check the class balance using the collection counter Y, where the result shows there are 410 patients without heart disease and 508 with heart disease. A reasonably balanced distribution, which means our model won't be strongly biased toward either class. And then moving on to the train and testing split. As usual, we then split the data using the train test split, allocating 70% for the training and 30% for the testing, with random state 0 to ensure the split is reproducible every time the code is running. Moving on, here for the hyperparameters tuning. This is the core of our model. We use the grid search CV where it combines with the MLP classifier, and then to systematically search for the best combination of hyperparameters. The parameter grid includes fixed hidden layer architecture, for example here for the neurons, and then a maximum for 450 iterations for activation functions like identity, logistate, tongue, and ReLU. 3 solvers like LBFGS, SGD, and ADAM, and then 3 learning rate schedules, constant, scaling, and adaptive. With 36 total combination and 5-fold cross-validation, the results in 180 individual model fits. And then the best combination found in native vision identity here, and then for the solver is FGS, and then learning at using the constant and achieving cross validation accuracy of 84%. And then for the selecting the best model and evaluating accuracy, we store the best performing model in variable best model using the grid based search estimator. Evaluating this model, we get a training accuracy of 85%, and a testing accuracy of 84%. A small gap of less than 2 percentage points between these two values indicates that the model is not overfitting. It generalizes well to unseen data rather than simply memorizing the training set. And then testing with a new patient. To demonstrate the practical usage, we input a hypothetical new patient's data. For 54-year-old male with a symptomatic chest pain, resting blood pressure of 150, cholesterol of 239, and other corresponding values, and the model predict as a class of 0, meaning it estimates this patient does not have the heart disease. And finally, for the confusion matrix, we visualize the model performance using a confusion matrix. Out of 276 test samples, 89 were correctly predicted as class 0, and 143 were correctly predicted as class 1, while 24 were false positive and 20 were false negative. This gives us the correct prediction overall with the consistency of the 84% test accuracy. There were the slightly lower number of false negatives compared to false positives suggests the model performs marginally better at correctly identifying healthy patients than at identifying those with heart disease, though the difference is very small. Then moving on to the next session, the next practicum. Now I will explain our implementation of key learning, a reinforcement learning algorithm applied to a more advanced maze environment than the basic 4x4 grid covered in the earlier practicum. This version introduced walls, turning the task into a genuine pathfinding problem rather than a simple straight line transversal. And then for here, environment setup and maze layout, we begin by importing NumPy and Matplotlib. The grid is expanded from the originally practicum that I studied before, 4x4 to a 6x6 layout, giving us 36 states in total with 4 possible actions per state, up, down, left, and right, where the goal state is defined as the last state in the grid at index of 35, located in the bottom right corner. The maze itself represented as a 6x6 matrix where 0 marks a free path and 1 marks a while the agent cannot cross. We convert wall positions into state indicates using the formula row and call and store them into the Python set called walls for fast lookup during the training. Finally, we analyze the Q table here. A 36x4 matrix filled with zeros representing the agent's complete lack of prior knowledge about the environment before the training begins. Here there are hyperparameters. We keep the learning rate at 0.8 and the discount factor at 0.95, consistent with the earlier practicum that I studied before, and retain an exploration probability of 0.2 of our epsilon greedy strategy. However, we increase the number of training epochs to 2000 since a larger and more complex maze requires more episodes for the Q values to converge across all states. We also introduce new parameters, max steps here, set to 100, which caps the number of steps allowed per episode. This prevents the agent from wandering indefinitely between the walls, especially during the early stage of training when exploration is more random. Moving on, where in here in the get next state, this function computes the agent's next position given its current state and the chosen action. We first convert the state index back to row and column coordinates using diff mode depending on the action: 2 for up, 1 for down, and then 2 for left and 3 for right. We adjust the row or column accordingly while checking the grid boundaries to prevent the agent from moving off the edge. If the resulting position corresponds to the wall, the function returns to the original state, effectively trading our collision as the agent remaining in the place rather than passing through. And then for the training loop, this is where the actual learning happens, repeated across 2000 epochs. In each epoch, the agent starts from a randomly chosen state with a safeguard ensuring it doesn't start inside a wall for each step up to the max step limit here. The agent selects an action using the epsilon greedy strategy with 20% probability, and it explores by choosing a random action, and with 80% probability, it exploits its current knowledge by choosing the action with the highest Q value for the current state. After taking the action, the agent transition to the next state via get next state, and then receive a reward of 1 if the next state is the goal and 0 the otherwise. And then updates key table using the standard key learning. Update rule is adjusted based on the immediate reward plus the discounted maximum future key value. If the agent reaches the goal state, the episode ends immediately, otherwise it continues to the next step until with the updated current state. Okay, testing the learn policy. After training, we test whether the agent has actually learned a useful policy, starting from state 0 to the top left corner of the maze. The agent now follows a purely greedy strategy, always selecting the action with the highest Q value with no random exploration at all. Since our goal now is to demonstrate the best path the agent has learned, not to continue the learning, each visited state is recorded in a list called path, and the loop stops once the goal state is reached. The output shows the agent successfully finding a path here, requiring 10 steps with the result, confirming berhasil mencapai goal or true, meaning the train queue table correctly represents a valid policy for navigating from the starting point to the goal while avoiding every wall in the maze. And lastly, the visualization of the Q value heat map. We take the maximum Q value across to the 4 possible action for each state using the NP-max key table axis. Then reshape this one dimensional array back into the original 6x6 grid layout to the match to the maze structure using the here yellowed color map. Darker red shades represent higher Q values, and then while lighter yellow shades represent lower or still unlearned values. And we also overlay an X marker on each wall position to maze structure remains to visible on top of the heat map. The resulting visualization clearly shows a gradient of increasing Q values along the path leading toward the goal state in the bottom of the right corner, which are marked in the darkest shades of red. Okay, one clarification worth noting. Walls also appear in light color on this heat map, not because walls have meaningfully low key values, but simply because they were never valid states the agent could occupy. So their key values remain at the initial value 0 throughout the training, and then this labeling artifact rather than a learning outcome. And it's worth mentioning explicitly to avoid misinterpretation. Maybe that's all for my practicum about key learning and neural network. See you in the